let us do that. All right, so before the stream happened, we talked about what's going on with the Cabaretto. Is there anything about the class that you don't feel um, perfect, like on in terms of understanding,
In
or?
terms of my understanding of what the skill does,
Mhm.
no, I've pretty much got it right now.
Okay, cool. There are two identities that we wanted to focus on. I think it may have been the same back when we were designing it initially. Um, this is just adding depth, hopefully, to what you're seeing. But basically, without the mask, you are redirecting damage to allies, and with the mask, you're redirecting damage to yourself.
Right.
And those are the play identities for the class. So anytime we're designing an ability that says without mask, with mask, and it's got two modes of play, um, we have to identify with the core of either mindset before we can sort of make the ability. And that's if we choose to do it that way. The other way of doing an ability like that um, is doing it in such a way that it works with both identities but doesn't directly reference either. An example of that, or the best example of that, would be rank 2, except for rank 2 has a with mask section that says this ability appears as a basic attack. Um, and that's kind of not a ton of interaction with your mask. Like
It's
it
not a
works.
ton, but it does what the mask is trying to do with the rest of your kit.
Right. It's necessary because of what rank 3 does with your allies being able to cast your basic abilities. Because then, if you have a melee ally, they can use your rank 2 ability or your rank 4 ability. Um,
It's
and
perceived as a basic attack from them.
right, right, exactly. So both of you can be basic attacking and using abilities still. Um, and I guess it'll depend on how much knowledge the enemy has of your kit, whether they understand what's happening. But the other cool thing is you can feint like you're using an ability and just be using a basic attack.
Right.
Um, let's see. Okay, so I don't know exactly what we're trying to do with this rank 6 active anymore. I know that at one point I was trying to figure out how to deepen the interaction with your clone, but I think the issue with the kit is that we've got so many abilities that are two-part abilities that it feels like we have 10 already. Like,
Yeah, it kind of does. It
yeah,
feels like a full kit right now.
right. It could be its own full kit with just 5, and so the issue is how do we expand upon the 5 abilities that are here that work really well with each other without breaking the balance or making things too obvious without affecting the subtlety.
Right.
Um, and I couldn't come up with an answer for that for about a week. It's been, I think, about a week now. Just been sitting on it and trying to think through. But it has given me some time to reflect on the class as a whole, what it's trying to do. I can't say I came up with anything particularly useful.
But at least you came up with something.
Yes, I have one idea. Also, the reason why we're putting the active at rank 6 is because we haven't had an active since rank 1.
Mm.
Um, it won't be shareable by your clone because it's an active ability.
Right.
Um, and I think that's all we really need to cover. So this ability doesn't need to work with a mask or without a mask necessarily, so long as it's usable by either identity. And obviously, you don't want to be using your actives while you have your mask on because
Right.
you
That
run
would
the
give it away.
right. You give it away exactly. But it could be useful if you really need to interrupt something or you really need to divert something or interact with the enemy team because of something very dangerous and it's worth giving up
Hmm.
which one of them you are. And so those were along the lines of what I was thinking, but I was trying to figure out a way to interact with the enemy team that wasn't already. sort of figured out by our our rank one. Basically, our rank one redirects damage, and with your mask, it redirects it to you, which is your form of interaction. I think that whatever we did with this ability would have to work along the same lines, where it's redirecting something to you. But the issue is then that, or basically having a rank one ability, you're taking the rank one ability and either making it better, in which case you should be upgrading it, or you're stepping all over its toes, and you shouldn't be doing so.
Right.
Uh, anyway, for the actual idea itself, um, and that's kind of the issue is I don't like it anymore. But um, I was thinking that maybe it would be interesting if you had both your clone and yourself able to cast this active together.
Like you can only cast it if there you have a clone.
Like, yeah, well, no, you could cast it without it, but if you cast it with the clone, then they can split the associated mana costs, and you both cast it at the same time.
So it appears. Oh, I mean, not appears. It doesn't look like one specific one is casting it.
Right, they're both going to go on the stack at the same time, and it'll be two copies of the ability that go off. And or they pay full mana cost and you pay full mana cost, but you can have them cast it with you,
Right.
basically. Um, and I wasn't sure how I liked that because it kind of it doesn't break necessarily the for as long as you both share the mass effects your ally may cast basic abilities thing. Because technically it's not interacting with that. It's just one active that says you can cast it with an ally.
Mm.
And you
And I
could
mean, he has to initiate it,
right,
or she. Sorry.
right. And you would have to definitely you'd have to initiate it. And it has an interesting interaction where you're getting two abilities or two spells on the stack um, at once, which happens infrequently. And then the other thing is that we have to figure out what the interaction is with speed stat. Like if your ally is copying you, do
Mm.
they have your speed stack? Or sorry, speed stat when they're putting things on the stack. All things to consider.
I mean, I feel like the fairest would probably be an average speed.
Average speed. Yeah, that might be
It's
what we
two
have to
numbers,
do.
but you can still do an average.
The question is that apparent to enemies? Because otherwise they're going to act on the information thinking that the person with the lower speed is going.
Mm.
Like if they're paying attention when the battle starts, they'll see in the turn order that you are higher than the other person. Um, if your speed stat was higher, which will in turn make them think that the person who's going is the person with the lower speed stat.
Right.
Whereas if you just have them copy your speed stat, it does mean that they're getting a whole bunch of extra speed for free, but maybe that's a benefit of being cloned.
And the Cabaretto does have high speed, right?
You have to build it. A lot of your gear that you could wear, a lot of the armor that you could
Would you want
find.
to build high speed on the Cabaretto?
I don't know. I don't know. There are benefits to both. The best benefit for high speed is that people can't use actives on their first turn until actives or basics until it is their turn. So the person who goes first has no one who can interact with them,
Mm.
and so on and so forth until you get to the last person. But of course, the level of interaction grows as you go.
Right.
Um, the other benefit of having high speed is that your things will resolve first on the stack almost always. So if you're a tank who wants to redirect damage and you're going toward the end of the stack and you don't have an ability which allows you to supplant stack order or something like that, which is a design that we're thinking of doing with the tank. Um, or something along those lines, then it could be very difficult to redirect damage effectively. However, the other thing to keep in mind with the stack, which is hard to tell, initially, and I think I actually need to bring out my Microsoft Paint diagram to show you. Item grid, speed stack diagram. Okay, this is something that we figured out. And I'm going to share my screen with you, but it is going to make my computer run super slowly. Okay, so you see this?
Yes.
Alright, so let me try and explain this. On the left, you have a turn order, and on the right, you have a turn order. The right hand turn order is one that we'll use for the expanded example. The left is the one we'll use for our initial example. So in the left turn order, red has the highest speed, yellow has second highest, and blue has the lowest speed. Which means that red will be going first at the beginning of battle, yellow will be going second, and blue will be going third. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yes.
Excellent. Now, if I'm red and it's the second turn, if I've gone through the
Full
cycle,
rotation.
yeah, then let's say hypothetically that I take my first turn, what would happen is the game would represent me now as being at the bottom, yellow would move up to the top, and blue would move up to second place. Basically, the combat order keeps rotating through,
Right.
which is what this shows. But we don't represent this whole thing for you. You just see like whomever is on the
You just
actual
see a small selection.
right, right, just up to however many people are on the battlefield, and then it rotates through. Um, anyway, let's say it's the second turn, and everyone's able to interact with me, or the second combat cycle, and everyone's able to interact with me. So I'm red, and I take my action, my basic action, and yellow wants to respond. They have something that they can respond with. 1 second after I take my action, a 5 second timer starts ticking down for yellow. Um, and it's ticking down for yellow, of course, because they have the second highest speed stat. 2 seconds after I take my action, a counter starts ticking down for blue. 3 seconds after it starts for orange, and so on and so forth. Um, and so the person who has the least time to pick something to respond with is yellow, who has the second highest speed stat, but they get to put in their input
First.
first. So their input, wherever their thing is going, it's probably going to be going here, unless something else on the stack. I mean, red's ability is going to go on the stack here, yellow's will go here, blues will go here, and so on and so forth down to purple. But purple will have the longest time to respond, and will get to see what everyone else picks before they pick their ability.
Yeah, because they get all that free time before their timer starts.
Right. So it's somewhat balanced, but purple's effect is going to go off last. And it's not to say that you have to choose an effect during this whole time. In fact, you can decline faster than the timer counts down. Or if you don't have an active, the timer won't even start up for you at all. It'll just skip you.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, so there are benefits, some benefits to having a slow speed stat. They just aren't immediately obvious, and they're probably not meaningful enough that you wouldn't want to have the high speed stat. Um, of course, we're going to try and make it so that loot that you find makes you choose between endurance or speed.
Right.
So, um, something to consider. It depends on which path the Cabaretto wants to build, tankier or more caster slash damagey.
Oh, okay.
So that's, I think, everything you need to know before we move on. Um, some of the stuff we figured out in between last meeting and this one. Uh, so yeah, now we have this active that we have to figure out what it does.
Mm.
Just don't know really. I'm thinking that it should. Oh, okay. We had someone comment in our Twitch chat.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's a friend of mine. Very kind of him to stop by. So, if we're looking at these actives, we have to think about what the Cabaretto doesn't have right now and what it would want that doesn't imbalance it. I think the real issue that we're having is perhaps that the secondary identity of taking damage isn't a mechanical identity. It's just something that the class is going to do anyway.
Right.
And it's more like the secondary would be more like feigned damage. And if the primary is the mask, then it's obfuscating totals primary. Secondary is feigned damage. Tertiary is duality of abilities. The problem with having something like duality of abilities as your tertiary design identity, I guess, is that it doesn't address what you're doing with that duality of abilities. Like it doesn't address the mechanics specifically. It just notes that you should have multiple abilities in which there are two identities for the abilities. Um, so that kind of helps in a way, but it doesn't really give you very many clues as to what those abilities should be doing or how they should be reacting. It leaves a lot of the front loading on your brain. Um, and for a lot of the other classes, we didn't really have that issue. I mean, we did briefly for the Lost Strider, but we fixed it when JJ suggested dueling.
Right.
So we don't really have something like dueling here. It feels like the class needs one more mechanic to carry it through the last five ranks. Because if we, it's like really, I want to say it's like inbred, or it feels as though everything is fitting together so nicely that if we continue introducing more elements of what's already here,
Might mess it up.
yeah, it'll be too much, or it could be too much. The other thing to mention is that I think we should keep the amount of charges and stacks that you can put on enemies to a bare minimum. This
Yeah.
class, because we have a lot of charges and stacks throughout the rest of human classes.
Mhm.
And if every single class that we introduce has a charge or a stack of some kind, and it feels like that's increasingly becoming then the amount of stacks that could be on one person at a given time as the battle goes on could become enormous and not fun for the player to interact with. So, though stacks and charges are a tremendous design avenue for us to explore, they're ones that I think to explore in moderation from here, which is making this class harder than it would ordinarily be. Another interaction I'm just seeing is that even if you wanted to, and charges don't work this way, they don't stack. But let's say hypothetically that you wanted to put a second uh, from the rank 4 on an ally. Hypothetically, of course. When you tried to target them with your mask, have them appear as a copy of you, it would consume the charge and deal damage to them.
Hmm. Yeah, it would.
Sorry that we brought you in on the rough one.
Oh, it's fine. Just trying to think of something that, as a character, she could do that would be an interrupting type thing.
It's very detached from identity, almost completely attached from identity. She uses separate identities in any way that benefits her. Is separate. They may benefit. I think that's more grammatic.
I keep getting pulled into some sort of redirect.
Yeah, me too. I think.
But with that, I was also thinking, what if it's kind of like a roulette in a sense? If, say, a target, if it's a ability that's targeting her, she can use this, and it's kind of it like rolls a die or spins a roulette, and it can change the target to literally any other character on both fields.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Usually I keep the RNG elements pretty light, so it'd be something like an ally and then two enemies. But we already have an ability like that on another
Yeah,
class in the dwarves.
yeah, I forgot about the RNG.
Um, what might be better is if we try instead of designing, because sometimes there are a number of different strategies that you can use to get unstuck. One of them is instead of designing based on the mechanics you have, you start designing based on the fantasy of the character. Um, so I think if we look at what kind of things the character would be doing or how they'd be interacting in the world, maybe we can draw some inspiration from that, some mechanical inspiration that somehow. I think the ability you just proposed is a pretty good job conveying that. I'm just not certain how we would implement it. I think that perhaps what's lacking at this point, if we're structuring this in sequential order, then usually there's something that we're mirroring with the character, some sort of internal progression, or external progression. For the Cavalier, we wanted it to be reminiscent of a journey from one point to the next, and also to be representative of the character's journey. For the Lost Strider, we did something similar, except for his was much more about being in one place and growing. With the Ritsmith, we created a character, made an echo chamber for themselves, more or less, and whose identity was structured upon lies that they were telling. This is, of course, all simplified down best as we can go through it. With the Cabaretto, since they are detached from their identity, it's difficult to to say one way or another in which way the character is growing. Um, Across these first five abilities, it doesn't seem immediately apparent to me that they are growing at all.
All right.
Um,
All the first five all feel like one step.
yeah, it almost feels like the development of a plan. Uh, Maybe it should feel more like development of a performance or something. Should be reaching a point where it's incredibly climactic soon, and then get the denouement, and then something that feels a bit like resolution.
Right.
Um, so if we're looking for something that's climactic within a performance, and we look at the lore of the character, this is about the time where you should be assassinating someone,
Yes.
probably storyline. So if you're assassinating someone, is this the time where we bring in the first real damaging ability? Something that, okay, interesting. So maybe what this allows you to do is play around with the stack.
The Fane.
No, like the actual order in which things resolve. I'm not saying,
Hmm.
I'm not thinking that we should be able to play around exactly with in which order they resolve, but um, what could be interesting is I'm trying to figure out how we would represent a plan of attack coming in on someone. How we'd represent them being surrounded and then killed quickly. Uh, Actives are good for that because they allow you to ambush someone on their turn. But the stack could also be good for that as a visual indicator because it pops up at the top of the screen and it's a little box and it shows the order in which effects are resolving. If your effect were to resolve in between two other effects, and those effects were bookending whatever you'd done, and in some way negated it or ganged up on it, could be interesting. Don't know how we'd make that work mechanically, or even if it's an idea worth pursuing exactly. But it does kind of fit the idea that I had before, in which you and your clone are casting the active together.
Right.
It just doesn't work in terms of speed. What? Okay, so maybe what you can do is you could have them both resolve. You put them both on the stack together, and you could have one of the effects move up or down on the stack. So then have one of them resolve, and then the enemy's thing resolve, and then the other resolve. But
Hmm.
I still don't know if that's even like fun really for players. Like, why would you give a player the? Why would you choose? What might be more interesting is if you make it so the player can move this ability around on the stack and choose which ability it's bookend. But then we'd have to figure out what kind of ability wants to be bookended, where the first bit of it's resolving and something resolves and the second bit resolves. I think maybe I'm just getting hung up on visual.
Well, I mean, if it would, they're obviously going to be on the same target.
Yes, going after whoever ability is on whoever's ability is on the stack that they are bookending. Is who they'd be.
So it's not doing anything to the ability; it's doing something to the character.
Yeah, probably. It would be. The other thing is that it has to work on its own
Yeah.
because this ability it has to work without a mask and with a mask. With a mask, you can get two of them. So the primary mechanic of the skill itself has to be something that works alone and then gets better when it has time to be cast before and after an opponent's ability. Most abilities do, but this one would specifically work with.
Maybe if maybe if the uh, I don't know how to word this. The character they're bookending something along the lines of the if they don't take if the Cabaretto or the copy or whatever doesn't take damage, the second does something bonus. I don't know. Like if they don't take damage or are affected by anything in between that time, between the first and the second casting, something happens.
I did just have an idea. I'm not sure if it would work in a multiplayer setting.
All
It's
right.
different than the one that we just had. The way it would work is you you proliferate a mask to the enemy team, and then you can choose which space you occupy.
On the turn order.
No, like on the battlefield itself. Um, so like let's say that I am on the front row and I have a mask already out. My clone is next to me, and then I give a mask to an enemy across from me on the front row. And now they appear as my clone as well. Then I can switch places with any one of my clones.
All right.
Um, Now the enemy doesn't know if their ally is still standing next to them or if I am, and they can attack that person as though they were me.
What if I like that, and that gave me kind of an idea, or
Mhm.
like the bare bones of an idea. When you give them, and this kind of goes with the book ending. The first part is give the mask to that enemy, and it has to be an ability that's targeting you. You switch places with them, and they deal that damage themselves. Something like that. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the issue that I'm coming across is that if they're in any sort of voice chat with their team, they can just say which one they are.
Yeah, and that's always gonna be a problem.
That's always going to be a problem unless you make it so that they can't tell which one they are.
Yeah, but how would you do that?
I don't know. I think the way that you could do it is you could black out all of the other rows. You basically you spin the screen around for that person. You do something to you darken the screen down. You show just the immediate surrounding around their character, like it's completely dark except for the area that they're in. Then you spin the map around, and then you place them somewhere. They can't see who's immediately next to them. They can't see anything else but their character model, which appears as a copy of yours. Um, they could see the turn order still. They could see the stack still. And when it gets to be their turn, they could put abilities onto the stack.
So the mask is essentially blinding them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's reducing their vision down to just them. And so they can't really tell from where they are any effects that are happening. And technically, uh, until their turn comes, they can't reveal which one of the clones they are. But then, as soon as it's their turn, they can reveal which one of the clones they are. So
What
then the
if there's
question,
what if something bad happens to them if they reveal?
huh? Well, that's I think too punishing.
Yeah,
Uh,
because how would they even target anything if they can only see themselves?
right.
What if
Yeah. How can they? What? Yeah. What can they target? Yeah. Okay. So.
maybe when you put the mask on, the entire screen goes black for everyone, and within a certain timer, you can choose to change the place between you and any of your clones. And you could also choose not to change any places, and then the screen goes back to white, or goes back to being clear, and he has no idea where he is,
Oh. Okay.
and only you know where he is.
So they have to wait. Okay. Interesting. That's a good. Yes. That's a very good compromise. The only question is, does it? So it would wait until their turn to center on their model.
Yeah, if there's a centering on the model, it'd wait till their turn, and maybe that's when we can bring in the bad thing happening, because they can still target things, and of course that'll give it away. But as
Right.
soon as they do that, something happens to them.
Yeah. The question is then, does it show if another person's turn came up, like let's say your clone's turn came up, then that narrows the possibilities down to 50-50.
Mm.
So that person will take their turn and use an action.
And there's always a possibility that you could just have them not take an action.
Good.
If you're communicating with them, just like, hey man, just don't take an action.
Yeah, but then the question becomes like, how beneficial is that? Just not taking action.
That's a good point.
Well, maybe what we have to do then is introduce an ability that appears. It allows you to take an action without appearing that you've taken one.
Mm. So
Maybe
maybe
that.
that's what could the rank 7 could be.
Well, that would be what the rank 6 would have to be.
Part of the rank 6.
Well, no, just in general, we'd have to make that ability the rank 6, and then we'd
Oh yeah,
have
and then
to
make the
ranks.
masking an
This would be the
enemy
rank
the rank
7.
7. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Well, this is certainly interesting. Um. So, okay. So we have two abilities now from that. So we've got. I think that wants to be a basic,
Yes, yes it does.
and that's fine. And then we'll have our second active at rank 7. Okay. So let me just type in. I mean, I know we've got it archived, sort of. Hey, how's your text program here called? Oh, Conware. Sorry that I didn't respond to you just now when you asked your question. There's a guy who's asking a question in the chat.
Oh yeah, sorry about
We're using Google Docs,
that.
the built-in Word function for Google Docs. If you're still here, I'll type it into the chat. Word. And thanks for asking as well. I appreciate you logging on and watching us. Um, so if we don't check the chat all the time, it's because I don't have two monitors. I would love to be able to check the chat while we're working. Unfortunately, I have a pretty ghetto setup, just my laptop. Although you know what I could do is I could put my phone on our Twitch stream.
That would be helping.
So let me do that real fast before we keep going because I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier. I think if we are going to set up a teaching stream, it's better to be able to answer the questions as they come in before people leave and decide that we're assholes.
Yeah.
Okay, I really like the way that this is going. And I like that idea. Let's see, search. So cool. Ourselves.
Look, ma, two screens.
Two screens, yeah. God, this is like the worst two screen setup ever. Um,
Now you just gotta get like a little stand for your phone so you can
yeah,
just look at it.
yeah, yeah, I was just thinking that. It's like, nah. Well, now we have a different issue. Okay, sure. Yeah, no problem, Conware. He just posted another message. He said, "Thank you. I find it very interesting right now. I'll keep watching at least for a bit for sure." I'm sorry that we're not going into the basics behind the systems, but all you need to know for now is that basic abilities act like sorceries and magic, and active abilities act like instants. So you can use actives during your opponent's turn. You can use basics during your turn. And right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to design an ability in which you can target your opponent with a mask um, to make them not know who they are, and perhaps put yourself on the opponent's side of the field and attack them with a preferential position that way. So, or get the opponent's team to attack them, which I think would be interesting. I wonder how frequently. Okay, so this basic is what we have to design first, but I want to put a note for this. Putting
Yes.
a, it's in bold. I hate that. Putting ask to an enemy. Screen blanks out. Switch. switch the positions of your clones with yourself. Yeah, thank you, Conway. Well, hopefully it's fun for people, but um, basically rather than thinking about it in terms of like the exact structure that we've put up, hopefully this stream can sort of operate as a how to get yourself unstuck from X question kind of stream. Uh, and we'll have the FAQ up soon, so that'll hopefully make it easier for people to understand the systems that we're using. Okay, so putting a mask onto an enemy, screen blanks out, and you may switch positions of any of your clones and yourself. Um,
What should the timer be on that?
you get 5 seconds. No, 10 seconds. 10 seconds to do so.
Yeah, because you do have to make position selection.
Yeah, I think you should be thinking about it before then, but yeah, let's just say that it's 10 seconds. Not that that'll appear on the ability, but bless me. Sorry. It might be interesting to. Um, it's good to note now, and we can just put it somewhere else since the information isn't necessary for a player to know.
Right.
Um, you switch positions of your clones and yourself. You have 10 seconds to do so. I think it'd be a good idea for all of you to go to the bottom of the turn order.
Yes, it resets turn order and sets everyone at the bottom for the next
Sets
turn.
all clones at the all
All masked
yeah
characters.
masked to the bottom of the turn order.
But what order are the three of them going to be in, based on their speed, or you first, ally clone second,
Okay,
enemy clone third?
you'd have to be able to select.
Mm.
You may select the order.
Just the Cabaretto, right? Can select.
Right,
Okay.
selecting positions. Because otherwise, if you had it the same each time, the enemy would just know if they were,
Right.
yeah, experienced players. Uh, so then the question becomes, right, what's this? What's this ability that lets you appear like you're doing nothing? Then how does it work with the mask off?
Hmm. It looks like Josh just came on.
Ability that, well, it has to do something that wouldn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Ability does something that doesn't show up. How does it work with mask off? Well, immediately I want to do something with charges because the
Yes.
charges don't appear when the mask is on.
So it's invisible no matter what.
Well, this charge consume charges to. Yeah, it says blank charges are not visible to enemies while the mask is equipped. So I could put a charge on myself if I am a clone. Maybe that's something that would be interesting to do, but then that really makes it so that rank 4 is less necessary. Doesn't do very much.
Well, maybe the Cabaretto can target itself for this charge.
You put a charge on the Cabaretto.
Yeah.
Like any clone may put a charge on the Cabaretto.
Mm-hmm. Because rank 4 is what the Cabaretto can do to clones, and rank 6 is what the clones can do to the Cabaretto.
Okay, well hold on. They would know immediately if you didn't take an action that it was Not.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But wouldn't the enemy be able to use all the skills that
Cabaretto has.
Cabaretto
Yes.
has?
Okay, so here's the question then. What exactly should the enemy be able to do when their mask is on?
Should they be able to do everything your clone can do?
Yes, definitely should.
Okay, so
But
this is probably going to be an ability that's going to entice them to want to use it.
well, I wonder. I don't want to stun an enemy. I definitely don't want this to be a stun or something like. Don't want don't want them to not be able to use their turn. I do want for them to have to. This is the hardest thing. Is like how do you how do you make them want to attack their enemy? Or sorry, how do you want how do you make the enemy want to attack their ally who is your enemy by switching things up? Maybe it's maybe it's more of a short-term sort of thing.
Because the whole point of this is to make. What is the point of this
Okay.
combination?
All right, so here we're I think we're looking at it wrong. This isn't a long-term
Yeah, this
anything.
is. It's going to happen
It's
for
going to
you.
happen. Yeah. Okay. It's going to happen and you switch around the position of enemies or sorry, you switch around the position of all of your clones and that's the benefit.
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't matter if they know once they know. Because the point of it is that I can use this at active speed and now they don't know which one is me.
Yeah.
In fact, I can use this after they use something that targets me and switch their ally into the spot that I was in, technically.
Yes.
Okay, so how do we make that more balanced? Because that's really strong.
Yeah.
Okay, and the enemy may retarget the ability uh, to any of your any target with a mask on when you use this. So it doesn't really help them.
Wait, the basic?
Yeah, yeah, no, the active
So trying to put the mask on them, they can
enemy.
retarget
Uh,
an
when
ally, their ally, or our ally.
when you use this ability while already targeted, comma, while
What do
an
you mean?
ability that targets you is already on the stack. A masked targets a masked character already on the stack, comma. The targeting character may reselect their target, reselect
It's wordy and complicated.
may choose. I'm just trying to figure out a way to word it so that we have some kind of syntax for it. When you use this ability while an ability which targets a masked character is already on the stack, the targeting character may choose
A new
to
target for that ability.
yeah, may choose a new target for that ability or the ability among from ability from among all masked characters. So basically, they have a 1 in 3 chance, or sorry, 2 in 3 chance of getting it right.
The person, the enemy that you're targeting has a.
The enemy that is so here's how the ability is going to be used. I think you are being targeted with something.
The Cabaretto?
The Cabaretto is being targeted with something, whatever it may be, and uh, you it's a really high damage thing that wouldn't be worth it to take with the mask. Like you have your mask on.
Mm,
The only way that you can redirect things with your mask on is to become the target of them,
mm-hmm.
right? So that's the identity of having your mask on is wanting to pull damage to you. So that we don't step on that identity, what this will allow you to do is have an ability that targets you. Try and explain this. It's hard. Um, when they target you with that ability, you can use this to put a mask on an enemy. It'll blank the screen out, and you'll choose the positions of your cloned ally, that enemy, and yourself, and switch
And
them
then you
around.
choose a new enemy or choose a new target for that ability that targeted you previously.
They choose a new
Oh,
target.
they choose.
Right.
The the enemy you put the mask on chooses.
The enemy that's targeting you with the ability.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So they get to choose among the three
What a
targets
weird
that are
way.
there. And it's a 2 in 3, it's a 66% chance that they get it right.
Mm-hmm.
But if they get it wrong, then it hurts for whomever their ally would be. And is that good enough?
I
It's
think it is.
it's balanced. You have a 33% chance of them hitting the wrong target. You have a 33% chance of them hitting your ally, which is what you do without your mask with your rank 1.
Mm-hmm.
So you now get your rank 1 ability on. You have a functional rank 1 without mask while you have a mask on 33% of the time.
Yes.
And then you also have the chance that it hits you, which is what you'd want it, which doesn't really do what you would want your mask to do. But maybe it's when it targets any masked character you can do this.
Yes. Maybe.
Okay, an ability which targets any masked character. So once you've already put the mask onto an enemy, okay, so this is how you can proliferate masks out. You
So
can
wait,
put it.
any your masked ally can use this active too, right?
No, they can all use basics.
Right. So it will give you away when you use it,
It'll
but
give you away, but then you'll
it doesn't
switch.
matter because it's gonna switch.
Right. As long as you don't take your mask off, you could use this your next turn as well and mask another enemy.
Oh god, that would get really silly really fast.
Right, so you're increasing the odds that they hit an enemy each time for as long as you have your mask on. Okay, I like this. I like this ability. I'm trying to figure out there's sufficient there's sufficient downside because they can now use your basics.
Yes.
It's going to make it even more complicated for them to know what's feign damage and what's not, though. Um, it also allows you to alpha strike into their team.
Yeah, you can just place yourself right in there and start attacking adjacent enemies.
Uh huh. Okay. And all
You
right,
can even
so
use it to escape after you've made an attack on your next turn.
yes, yes, you can. Um, okay, so when you take the mask off, is all positioning reverted? Hold on. Okay, so someone's got to go. Oh, hey Conware, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great time wherever you're going. So Conware's heading out, but they said they'll tune in again.
That's awesome.
Okay. I hope I caught that message in time. Even with my phone, it's not quite a second monitor. So yeah, does the positioning revert?
If you remove your mask.
Mhm.
Hmm. When you remove your mask, does it mean demask everything else?
Yes, I think so. I think positioning would
Yes,
revert.
yes, it should revert.
Positioning reverts when mask is removed.
Because it might even be fun to be like, oh man, I thought it was this guy, and
Yeah.
just little personal things like, oh man, I like guessing games.
All right, so that's a really interesting ability. I don't know if it even needs to be rank 7 now, but I think it is strong enough to be a rank 7.
It's pretty good,
So functionally, it does a lot of things for you.
but they
Uh,
all happen at once.
yes. Okay, we've got to figure out a way to render this ability so that it can be entered.
Yeah, we gotta figure out what 6 is.
I need to retype rank 7 at some point.
Yeah.
That doesn't need to be now necessarily. I mean, we have the idea down, but it is nice to have it like ironed out exactly what it does so that we
Hmm.
can better manage what these will do. So maybe, all right. So if you will brainstorm 6, I will type this out.
All right.
I think it should be a basic. I don't think it should be a passive. And it might be that the rank 6 that we currently have needs to come after rank 7. Don't think of it positionally necessarily. You can think of it that way if it helps you, but you don't have to think this ability has to come before rank 7. It has to do X, Y, Z. Save. I'm going to make a quick Microsoft Paint be right back screen. So I need to go use the restroom. Um, so if it doesn't bother you, you'll be left alone. Masses watching our chat.
Oh man, the thousands of people.
Yeah. Be back on fishing. Or uses power to the requisite authority. All right. The going away screen is up. I shall return. Be thinking about this ability as well.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my calendar is too good at its job, and it decided to pop up while I was gone. So people have been treated to the wonderful Thomas Slovak meeting is starting at 3 p.m. sign for the last few minutes. Thank you, Google Calendar. Um, well, our gone fishing sign is no longer in need of use. You think of anything?
Hmm, no,
No. Yeah.
but I was looking at other other skills, and it's very apparent which one of you is the Cabaretto.
How so?
Um, assuming you're not moving at all,
Uh huh.
it's obvious because you're putting the mask on someone else, and they just have to track who that person is.
No, no. When you come into your lateral positioning on a row is never taken into account. So when I come in and I put a mask on someone, I could be either of those. It'll allow me to switch between being either of those people. That makes sense?
No.
Okay. So at the beginning of each of your turns, you may choose between equipping or removing the mask. When the mask is equipped, your HP bar and mana bars cannot be seen by enemies, and damage to the target you is not revealed. Whenever you would equip the mask, choose an ally on your row until you remove the mask. They also gain the mask's effects, and they appear as a copy of you. Uh, you may switch positions
That's what I was looking for.
with this ally when they copy you. They clone you, I guess.
When you clone them, or something like that. I don't
Right, when you clone them,
know.
I
Right.
guess. When they receive the mask's effects. You you may switch positions with
And there's no visual indicator that you're switching positions.
no.
Okay. I think I just needed that to.
You may switch positions with characters who receive the mask's effects. Who receive the mask's effects. So that'll be how it'll blank out. That'll be when you blank out.
So, and I mean, this is just a visual thing. Maybe it should just be like a curtain dropping.
That'd be cool. Yeah, maybe it is curtain dropping. Maybe we could make it so that like the black screen sort of looks like a curtain closing in, and then it lifts, and you've already chosen
Yes.
to. Okay, so to enemies, mark this in the notepad. To enemies, it appears as though a curtain has dropped. To enemies, it appears as though a curtain has dropped out of the blackness of the screen. A stylized fade effect, which will obscure your positional options. Okay. Cabaretto mask positioning. Okay. Yeah, so your allies will always know which is which. Okay, so the question now becomes, is that too powerful? Switching an enemy over into your lines, would you just be able to kill them immediately?
But I mean, don't they get that? Oh, they don't get the passive, or do they? Do they get the passive? They can just choose to.
The passive works one-sidedly.
Okay.
Um, so it's your HP bars and mana bars cannot be seen by enemies, and damage that would target you is not revealed. Uh, it works. It works as though, even though you're targeting an enemy with it, works as though you had put it on them and it was affecting you. That makes sense.
They just don't get the mask effects.
No, they do get the mass effects. They just don't get them. They still work to obscure their life and mana totals from the enemy rather than obscuring it from your team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if they didn't, it would be immediately obvious.
Right.
Um, but yeah, well, I do wonder if it's too strong being able to switch an enemy to your side of the field.
Then you should only be able to switch with ally clones.
But then you can't switch them into the position that you were in and have.
You can with rank 7.
Well, that's
I've
what I'm
seen.
saying. Yeah, no. All the way until rank 7, this doesn't work. Like, you wouldn't be able to switch someone else in. The reason I put the
Right.
text in the rank 3 was because now um, I don't have to type it into the rank 7. You may switch
Right.
positions with characters who receive the mass effects. Covers everyone. But I wonder if at rank 7 it's too strong, because if I switch an enemy and all of my allies know that that's an enemy, and I have a whole bunch of melee guys on my team, we can just beat the crap out of them at melee range.
But isn't that kind of like the boxing in and assassination of them?
It is, but you could do this. Okay, so put a mask on the target enemy in range. Um,
Yeah, that's better. It's not really fixing the whole thing, but it is helping it
right.
not be so good. Because you could just be like, oh, I'm just gonna target their really squishy mage.
Target enemy in range. Enemy in range. Up here, target enemy in range
Mm,
appears as a copy of you, and gains the mask's effects. Target enemy in range appears as a copy of you and gains the mask's effects.
hmm.
In blanks out, and you may switch positions of any and yourself. 10 seconds to do so. Okay, that doesn't need to be in the ability. Sets all masked characters. All masked characters are placed at the bottom of the turn order in the order that you choose. They do not gain another turn if they have had one during this combat cycle. This effect does not gain that extra turn if they have
Already had a turn.
already taken
Action.
one
Yeah.
this combat cycle.
That's clearer.
You select the order while selecting positions. When you use this ability while an ability which targets mass characters already in stack, targeting character may choose. Oh god.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, if you are the
Target.
target of an ability.
If a mass character is a target of ability.
Right, okay. If a masked character is a target of an ability that is on the stack, what do you think? Another hour and a half, probably.
To keep going.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. JJ just woke up. So. Okay. Um. Okay. Sorry. I need to space this out because it's killing me that there's so much text. The masked character is a target. Is the target of an ability that is on the stack, comma, the targeting character may choose new targets or okay. If the masked character is the target of an ability that is on the stack, the targeting character may choose new targets among all from choose new targets from all masked
May choose a new master target.
may, may choose a new target from would you all right, how'd you
New
phrase it?
target that is masked, maybe? May choose a new masked target or a new target that is masked.
May choose a new target from among masked characters.
That works too.
Does that work? Okay.
Yes.
Alright. Target enemy in range appears as a copy of you and gains the mask's effect. All masked characters are placed at the bottom of the turn order in the order that you choose. Let's try and make this more sequential.
Yeah. The second part should probably be the last thing.
Yeah. Target enemy in range appears as a copy of you and gains the mask's effects. The masked character is the target of an ability that is on the stack. The targeting character may choose a new target from among masked characters.
I think in between the first and second sentence should be the screen blackening.
Well, that's going to be something that occurs that isn't told to the player.
Oh, it just happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It doesn't have to be in the actual text so long as we remember that it's part of the ability, and we will because we have the design string. Um,
Yes.
but also because I put it in my notes.
Also, because it's right here.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the last part. Positioning reverts when your mask is removed. All positioning adjustments are, are reverted when
Any mask is removed?
well, all of the masks come off when yours comes off.
Right. And can clones take their mask off?
No,
Okay.
all positioning adjustments are reverted when your mask is removed. That should go at the end. Okay, so does that say everything we wanted it to?
Take the mask. Switching targets. Turn order. And positioning. Yes, yes, it does.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. That's that's good. Um,
That was less convincing each time you said it.
well, as soon as I said it the first time, I was like, "Yeah, all right, it's done." And I was like, "Are we really? Do we really put everything in? What if we didn't? Oh God, what if we didn't?" And then the next thought was, "Oh shit, we still have a rank 6 to do."
Yeah.
Um,
Well, what do we want it to do? Do we
well,
still want it to be an invisible action?
yeah, that's the question. Is that still worth it? Because I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know if it is or isn't.
It's not anymore with what we just did to 7. I don't think, at least.
Yeah, I don't know how necessary it would be. I think rank 7 is just so strong that
That it shouldn't be rank 7 and it should be higher?
no, no. It should probably be rank 7. It should probably cost more mana.
Like 12 or 13?
12.
15?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
just put it at 12 to start. We'll adjust it as it needs to be adjusted. It should be something that isn't, your average everyday, oh, I'm going to do this. It's like, all right, I'm choosing to do this for a reason. And if I extend it to another enemy, then all of the advantages that I had before are now even better.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a really interesting ability to use.
The 7?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you get it, you're going to be like, whoa,
That's really cool, guys.
what can I do with that? How does that work?
I think it's an immediate. The immediate thing that's going to happen is when you get 7, you're going to immediately go back and read all your abilities again.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, interactions, where are they? Yeah. Okay, so maybe what we want to do is have an ability where a masked character can use this basic with you, and then you can make enemy characters use this with you. Taking that idea from earlier about an active that's shared,
Right, maybe it's a basic that everyone does at the same time.
a basic that all clones do.
Yes.
Ooh, a basic that all clones do. See, that would be interesting because when you get it at rank 6, you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. Me and both me and my other guy are going to use this at the same time.
And then you get your rank 7, and you're like,
You're like,
oh, wait a minute.
how many can use this at the same time?
How much mana do I have?
Yeah. So each individual would have to cast the spell, but they can cast it when you cast it.
Hmm.
And they all have to target the same person.
Would the mana cost be split per? person using it,
No,
and
no.
they're all gonna have to pay the same amount of mana.
Yes, so you can
Okay,
use it to tax enemy mana.
that's pretty cool. So it's got to be beneficial to them, right?
No, no, because each of them are gonna have to target the one you targeted.
So they're forced to use it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Each mass character uses this with each other masked character. So now it gets into the enemies because there's no way to use it in which they don't immediately know which one is you if you use
Right.
it.
And if the enemy used it, he gets to tax
He gets to tax you.
both of your mana
So I wonder,
and does damage or whatever this does to a target three
yeah.
times.
So I wonder how
So that makes him want to use it a lot, making him want to stay masked.
interesting. It will immediately become obvious which one is the enemy, but
But that it's incentive to make him stay masked
to
so you
stay
can
masked.
keep masking enemies
Well,
to make it better for you.
he can't unmask unless you unmask.
All right.
So I mean, he is stuck masked.
Mm,
It's a question of how much value can you gain out of it versus how much they can gain. And I guess it's a slight balancing factor on the rank 7 because while it does suck that now you're in the middle of their team, you do at least have something that you can use that taxes the other people who did this.
right.
Each masked character uses this ability, must use this ability with each other masked character. Must cast this ability with each.
So wait, are they casting it? Because you're casting it as a basic. Are they also casting it as a basic?
No.
It's not their turn, so wouldn't it be an active when they
Mm-hmm.
do it?
Well, yes. Each masked character must cast this ability with each other masked character. This, when when cast in this way, comma, the ability becomes a free active.
Mm. What's the difference between an active and a free active?
Free actives don't take your active use for the turn.
Okay.
When cast in this way, this ability becomes a free active for all characters joining the cast. Casting. I think that's fairly clear, but it's not perfect. Each
Yeah.
masked character must cast this ability with each other masked character. Period.
Yes. When
When
cast in this way, the build becomes a free action.
characters characters joining the
Cast
casting.
this as a free action.
Yes. Characters joining the casting. Or character
Characters joining the ability cast.
joining the casting, comma. This ability is a free active.
Mm,
Think that's clearer?
yes.
Okay, each masked character must cast this ability with each other masked character. Each masked character must cast this ability when it is cast by any other masked character.
Yeah. Yes. I think that works better.
Cast by any other masked character. For characters joining the cast, this ability is a free active. What does it do? It has to be fairly simple.
Right. I kind of want it to. and I don't know what it does, but it stacks for each cast.
Oh
As
God.
in, as in, say it did just a flat out 2 damage. Uh, it deals an extra 1 damage for each person casting it.
Oh God. Could
So
get
say it
out
does
of
two
hand.
damage, and then so okay, say the Cabaretto's casting it, and they have a masked enemy and a masked ally. They do 2 damage, and then it does another 3 damage, and then it does another 4 damage.
Oh wow. That would be so so mean.
That's a big ol' assassination.
It is, but this isn't the assassination yet.
Yeah, no.
It could work as a part of it.
Maybe only it doesn't do. Okay, so it does two, and then it doesn't do three. It just does one.
I kind of like the flavor of it because you have like if you involve a rogue cell into your mission, some other person who's not a part of your immediate team, you do introduce the aspect of failure to the mission, even if you are increasing your total resources.
Yeah,
And this ability plays into that because when it's a consolidated unit and you're not involving anyone else, you're good. Like there's no way that it backfires on you. But as soon as you get to rank 7, you start thinking, okay, but how if we hire this guard or if we pay them off, you know,
they'll help us,
they'll
but
help
there's
us.
nothing to say they won't use it against
They
us.
won't burn us. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh hey, at rank 6, me and my buddy can do if we're using my damage numbers 5 damage. That's awesome. Oh cool, at rank 7, there's a possibility of doing more damage than that. 8 damage, not well, not 8 damage, whatever it is.
The
And I
question
was like,
is,
oh wait, they can do that too.
do we want it to be damage?
Well, I'm just was just using
Right.
it as an example
Right.
of the like commutative.
But I'm actually asking though, do we want it to be damage?
I do a little bit, and that's just personal,
Yeah.
because there is no real damage ability that the Cabaretto has.
No, it's all about utilizing damage. To
Yeah,
me.
and you're talking about introducing a damage ability. This is an introduction of a damage ability that also goes with the rest of the kit.
Does it need damage? Question. Because when we're introducing things, we have to be asking like, does it need this? I think with where rank 12 is concerned, it did to a certain extent need it because masks. Giving a mask to your ally can only go so far. Like you could design multiple abilities around you two sharing things, and it would be interesting. But
Right.
in order for the ability to become more interesting than that, you have to proliferate a
Yep.
mask out to someone else.
Yes.
And if you're proliferating it to an ally, then it can get OP.
But if you can put it on an enemy,
Right. Then you can take advantage of everything the masks are doing for you. Your enemy gets to play in on it, which is fun for them. The question is, I guess, like we always something that we always considered about the Cabaretto, or something that we consider to be the identity of the Cabaretto, is that it makes it much harder for your enemies to make sound tactical decisions around you because you can cover a lot of rows and transfer damage kind of in whichever way you want to among targets. So at least once to twice per turn, you're making them act. You're making them act in such a way that their resources cannot be perfectly allocated. And against teams that want to just do damage, that's very strong. But we have also done that in such a way that you don't do very much damage of your own. You just redirect the damage that they're dealing. And I think if we gave the Cabaretto damage, then we would be,
undoing what we've done.
yeah, we would sort of be kind of simplifying it in a way, making you more self reliant, which I don't really want. I want you to be self reliant in a way if you're planning ahead, but I don't want you to be able to just manufacture your own sort of damage. I wonder if maybe this should be something that interacts with feign damage because then we are damaging in a way.
So it doesn't do direct damage; it does feign damage.
Right.